All right, so are you ready to dive deep?
Always. Hit me with it.
Okay, so today we're looking at putting the power of your subconscious mind to work.
Ah, yes. I see you've got this one marked up quite a bit.
I do. Our listeners know that I've been thinking a lot about career goals recently, and this one just felt super relevant.
It is, and Pell really gets right into it, you know? He starts with that Frederick Douglass story.
Yeah.
Talk about someone whose subconscious mind had to overcome some massive external limitations.
I mean, born into slavery, but then goes on to become this incredible abolitionist and writer.
Yeah, it's remarkable, and Pell uses that to basically set the stage, right? Like to say your mind is the ultimate game changer.
Yeah, and for me, that was the hook. It's like, okay, so maybe I do have more control over my career than I've been giving myself credit for, but how do you actually tap into that? It can't just be about thinking happy thoughts all the time.
Yeah. No, not at all. And I think that's where Pell really shines. He gives you this practical roadmap, a 7-step process for setting goals that actually work with your subconscious and not against it.
Okay, so let's get into those steps. What are we talking about here?
Well, you've got some of the usual suspects, right? You know, making your goals specific, measurable, all that good stuff. But there are a couple in there that I found particularly interesting. Like he talks about the importance of writing your goals down and then also sharing them with someone you trust.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious about why that emphasis on writing and sharing.
Well, I think it's about making those goals real, you know, tangible. Like writing them down takes them out of that realm of just vague wishes and kind of forces you to actually clarify what it is that you want and sharing them. I think that's all about accountability. You know, it kind of adds this layer of commitment. It's almost like you're signing a contract with yourself.
And your trusted confidant.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, it's easy to let those goals slide when they're just kind of floating around in your head, right? But when you've got them written down and you've told somebody about it, you're much more likely to actually follow through, to take action.
Exactly. And speaking of action, Pell is really all about moving beyond just positive thinking. He talks a lot about this idea of cultivating a success mindset.
Right.
You remember that quote? The only thing that stands between a man and what he wants from life is often merely the will to try it and the faith to believe that it is possible.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So it's not just about visualizing success, it's about believing that you're actually capable of achieving it.
Yes. And that's where this idea of the law of substitution comes in. So Pell argues that you can actually reprogram your subconscious, like literally reprogram it by consciously replacing negative thoughts with positive affirmations.
Okay.
It's almost like replacing a worn out tire on a car, you know? You're upgrading that mental machinery.
Okay, I like that. So we've got set clear, actionable goals. We've got to cultivate that success mindset. And then we're actively replacing those self-sabotaging thoughts with empowering ones.
You got it. It's like this holistic approach to aligning your inner world with your outer goals.
Right.
And I think Pell illustrates this beautifully with those contrasting stories of the two brothers who both faced this massive financial setback. One of them wallowed in negativity and was just blaming everybody else, but the other one chose to focus on his strengths, saw the setback as this temporary obstacle, and, you know, ultimately bounced back stronger than ever.
It's a good point, though. It is a powerful reminder that our mindset really does shape our reality.
It does.
But so it's not all just internal work, though, right?
Right.
Pell also talks about the importance of developing a magnetic personality.
Yes.
And I think that's where some people might get a little tripped up. I think they think that it's about putting on this fake persona or becoming some slick salesperson or something. But I don't think that's what he's getting at.
No, it's about authenticity. I mean, think about it like that tour guide at the Mercedes-Benz plant, you know? Krista, yes. Pell uses her as an example. She's giving the same tour, day in and day out, but it's that genuine passion, that enthusiasm that makes it unforgettable.
Yeah, okay. I'm seeing the connection. So it's not about being the loudest or the most extroverted person in the room. It's about letting your passion and your genuine interest in others shine through.
Exactly.
Okay.
And, you know, Pell suggests something that might surprise some people. He suggests modeling yourself after people you admire.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I think that can be easily misinterpreted. He's not talking about, like, becoming a carbon copy of somebody else. It's about identifying those traits and behaviors that contribute to their success and then seeing how you can adapt those to your own style and goals.
So it's like having a mentor, even if it's somebody you've never even met.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, you can learn so much by observing those who are already achieving what you aspire to. It's like having this shortcut to success, but tailored to your own strengths and your own aspirations.
It's like you've got the blueprint, but you get to customize it to fit your own unique build.
Yeah. And speaking of blueprints, Pell gives you a pretty solid one for overcoming fear. I mean, he calls fear a debilitating force, and honestly, I kind of have to agree with him.
Yeah.
I mean, who hasn't been held back by fear at some point in their career, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
So Pell gets this. He even uses that example of Andrew, the talented violinist who's crippled by stage fright.
Right.
And it's kind of heartbreaking because you see this guy whose potential is just completely stifled by fear.
Right.
But here's the thing. Pell doesn't just leave you hanging with this cautionary tale, you know?
Right.
He gives you actionable steps to actually conquer that fear.
Okay, I'm all ears. How do we do it?
It's not about ignoring it or suppressing the fear. It's about confronting it head on, challenging its validity and breaking it down into smaller, more manageable pieces.
Right.
You know, it's like that old saying, the only way out is through.
Okay, but how do you actually do that?
Well, he gives you some really practical tips, like using the power of faith and positive thinking to replace those fear-based thoughts. He even uses the analogy of an engineer applying problem-solving techniques to his worries.
Oh, interesting.
It's about taking this analytical, systematic approach to dismantling those fears.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
So instead of letting fear kind of control us, we can actually use our analytical skills to break it down and sort of neutralize it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the power of the subconscious mind, the importance of a success mindset, and this need to conquer fear. But career success isn't just about individual achievement, is it? It's about teamwork and leadership as well.
Absolutely. And this is where I think Pell really challenges that traditional boss's mentality. You know, like he advocates for the shift towards a more collaborative leadership style where the leader acts as like a facilitator,
Okay.
fostering open communication, encouraging participation at all levels.
So it's less about barking orders and more about empowering the team.
Exactly. Pell really believes that the most effective leaders are those who trust their team members, delegate effectively, and create an environment where everyone feels valued and respected. And he emphasizes that the shift, it requires a whole new skill set, you know?
Right.
It's moving beyond just being the smartest person in the room.
So it's about creating this synergy, this kind of collective intelligence
Yeah.
that's greater than the sum of its parts.
Yes, exactly. And you know what else he emphasizes?
What's
The
that?
power of appreciation.
You mean like just saying thank you?
Well, it goes a little deeper than that. It's about genuinely recognizing and acknowledging the contributions of others, both big and small. He argues that sincere appreciation is crucial for morale, cooperation, and productivity. Remember that story about the employee who was just deeply touched by that personal letter of appreciation from his boss?
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, and I think it shows that, you know, true appreciation goes beyond just a pat on the back. It's about that human connection, that feeling of being truly seen and valued.
We've covered so much ground already, and it feels like we're just scratching the surface. I'm already starting to see how these principles could make a real difference in my own career.
Well, and we've only just begun. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll be exploring even more practical strategies for navigating the complexities of the workplace. We'll look at everything from dealing with those difficult personalities to mastering the art of persuasion.
Ooh, can't wait. This is like a masterclass in unlocking your full potential. I'm definitely coming back for more.
Me too. Welcome back. You ready to jump back into Pell?
Oh, absolutely. I'm kind of particularly interested in this section on dealing with difficult people.
Yeah.
I mean, who hasn't encountered a challenging personality or two in their career?
You and me both. And I really liked Pell's approach here. You know, he starts by reminding us that our perceptions of others, well, they're often colored by our own internal state.
Right.
It's like that saying, when you're wearing rose-colored glasses, all the world looks rosy.
Right. So if I'm feeling, I don't know, stressed or irritable, I might be more likely to perceive somebody as being difficult, even if they're not actually intending to be.
Exactly. It's a good reminder to kind of check ourselves before we judge others. You know, sometimes that so-called difficult person, they're really just a mirror reflecting our own inner turmoil.
Ooh, that's deep. But it's a good point. It's so easy to get caught up in the blame game, but ultimately, we're responsible for our own reactions to people, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of reactions, Pell really emphasizes the golden rule, you know? Even the workplace. Treat others as you wish to be treated. I mean, it sounds simple enough, but it can be incredibly challenging, especially when you're dealing with someone who's, well, really pushing your buttons.
Yeah. And I think we all have those moments where we just want to fire back with some snarky comment or just avoid that person altogether.
Yeah.
But that's not exactly a recipe for a harmonious work environment.
It's not, no. And Pell actually, he provides this great example of how choosing kindness can actually diffuse a really tense situation. You remember Lee, the waiter, who managed to disarm that, notoriously grumpy customer with just genuine warmth and respect.
I do. That was a good one.
Yeah, and it's a powerful illustration of how a positive attitude can really transform a negative interaction.
Yeah, that one really stuck with me. It's a good reminder that we always have a choice in how we respond to those challenging people.
We do. We absolutely do. And Pell doesn't just leave us with feel-good advice. He also gives us some very practical strategies for managing those difficult interactions. Like, he talks about the sandwich method for delivering constructive criticism. So, you start with a positive observation, then you address the area that needs improvement, and then you end on another positive note.
Right.
It's subtle, but it's effective, It softens the blow a little bit and makes that feedback a little more palatable.
It's like that spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down.
Exactly. And it shows that you're approaching the situation with empathy and respect, which can go a long way in building trust, even with those who might be initially resistant.
Okay, so we've tackled difficult people. How about another universal challenge? Time management. I mean, I am constantly feeling like there just aren't enough hours in the day to get everything done.
Tell me about it. Time, it's the one resource we all have in equal measure, but it's really how we use it that makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And Pell, he really doesn't disappoint in this area. He emphasizes, setting clear goals, priorities, minimizing distractions, delegating effectively.
Okay, all solid advice. But sometimes easier said than done, right?
Oh, absolutely. But one technique that I thought was really great was that, have you heard of the Ivy Lee method?
I don't think so, no. What is that?
Okay, so it's super simple, but it's surprisingly effective. So at the end of each day, you write down the 6 most important things that you need to accomplish the next day, and then you rank them in order of importance.
Oh, okay.
The next day, you tackle that top priority task, that number 1 thing, and you don't move on to number 2 until it's done.
Okay. It sounds so straightforward. I mean, almost deceptively simple.
Yeah.
But I can see how that kind of structured approach could really help to, focus your energy and avoid getting sidetracked by all those little urgent but not important things that tend to pop up.
Totally. It's about being intentional with your time.
Right.
And, recognizing that sometimes, goals, they require that long-term patient effort. It's not just about this, frantic rush to the finish line.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And, Pell also gives some really good tips on handling those, like time wasters, the unexpected visitors, the endless phone calls that can just eat up half your day.
Oh, tell me about it. Sometimes I feel like I'm playing phone tag all day long.
And Pell suggests, planning calls in advance, have a clear agenda, and be polite but firm about setting boundaries.
Right.
It's about protecting your time and your energy so that you can focus on what truly matters.
I like that. So it's about reclaiming control of your schedule instead of letting it control you.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered managing difficult people, maximizing our time. What else does Pell have up his sleeve?
Well, he dives into the art of persuasion.
Okay.
Which, I mean, let's face it, that's essential for success in just about any field, right?
Absolutely.
And he breaks it down into this clear 3-step framework. Capture attention, arouse desire, and then secure acceptance.
So it sounds kind of like a sales pitch, but for ideas rather than products.
You got it. Yeah, and he gives examples of how this persuasive framework can be applied in, all sorts of workplace scenarios, like securing funding for a project, convincing your boss to adopt a new policy. You remember Darlene, who managed to get that meeting with a senior executive by framing her proposal as the solution to like a pressing company problem?
Mm-hmm.
That is strategic communication at its finest.
Yeah, it shows the power of framing your ideas in a way that resonates with your audience's needs and interests.
Exactly. And Pell emphasizes that persuasion, it's not about manipulation or trickery.
Right.
It's about building trust, understanding your audience, and presenting your ideas in a clear and compelling way.
So authenticity and integrity, not just slick sales tactic.
Exactly. And I think this really ties back to that core message of the book. True success, it comes from within. It's not just about external achievements. It's about tapping into that inner power, that deep well of potential that I think resides within each of us.
It's about believing in yourself, setting those clear goals, and then taking consistent action to create the reality that you desire.
Yes. And you know what? Pell doesn't just leave us hanging with these inspiring ideas.
Right.
He circles back to the power of the subconscious mind and reminds us that, that's the driving force behind everything that we achieve. He encourages us to visualize success, affirm those positive beliefs, and just keep moving forward even when we're faced with challenges.
It's a good reminder we really do have more control over our destinies than we often realize.
Absolutely. And as we head into the final part of our deep dive, we're going to be exploring some of the most impactful takeaways from the book. And we'll look at how you can start applying these principles to your own career journey.
Okay. Can't wait.
And we are back for the final part of this deep dive. Phew, I'm feeling pretty energized after going through all of these powerful ideas from putting the power
of your subconscious mind to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pell really packs a lot in.
He does.
But it's also practical, Yeah, and actionable. It's not just theory. He's giving you the tools to actually create positive change.
Exactly.
Okay, so as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, let's distill those golden nuggets.
Yeah. Yeah.
The key takeaways that our listeners can walk away with and start applying today.
Okay, so for me, I think one of the biggest takeaways is just that sheer power of our thoughts. Pell really drives home the point that what we focus on, what we believe deep down, it shapes our reality, especially in the workplace.
So it's like we're constantly programming our subconscious minds, whether we realize it or not.
We are.
So we might as well be intentional about it, right?
Absolutely. We need to become the CEOs of our own minds.
Right.
Consciously choosing to focus on those positive, empowering beliefs, those affirmations that are going to support our success. Remember that quote about the man standing between what he wants and the will to try?
Yeah.
Our thoughts, they're the fuel that propels us forward.
And speaking of fuel, we need to set those goals, right? Give us that direction and that sense of purpose. And Pell's 7-step process for setting goals that align with our subconscious, that is gold.
It is, and it's not enough to just, jot them down on a sticky note.
Right.
Pell emphasizes writing them down in detail and then sharing them with someone you trust. That adds that whole new level of commitment and accountability.
It's like making a public declaration, even if it's just to one other person.
It is. And by writing them down, you're also forcing yourself to get, crystal clear about what it is that you actually want.
Right.
No more vague wishes or half-hearted intentions.
We also talked about the importance of developing that magnetic personality.
Yes.
It's not about, being fake or trying to please everyone.
Right.
It's about letting your authentic self shine through.
Remember, Krista, the tour guide at the Mercedes-Benz plant?
Yeah.
Her passion, it was just contagious.
It was.
It's about bringing that same level of enthusiasm and that genuine interest to your work and to your interactions with others.
It's about becoming the kind of person that people naturally gravitate towards.
Yep.
Somebody who inspires and motivates those around them.
Yes. And one of the most empowering takeaways, I think, was just Pell's approach to conquering fear. He acknowledges that, fear, it's this powerful force.
Yeah.
But he also reminds us that it's often a mental construct,
Right?
a barrier that we're creating in our own minds.
It's so easy to let fear hold us back from taking risks, pursuing our dreams.
Absolutely. And that's where his strategies for challenging those fears and replacing them with empowering beliefs come in. It's about facing them head on, breaking them down into those smaller pieces and using our analytical minds to kind of dismantle them.
Right.
And, when it comes to achieving success in the workplace, we can't do it alone.
We can't, no.
And Pell's insights on teamwork and leadership, they're game changers.
He really does flip the script on that old boss mentality.
He does.
It's not about wielding power or micromanaging. It's about fostering a collaborative environment where everyone feels valued and respected and empowered to contribute their best ideas.
It's about shifting from that me focus to that we focus. recognizing that we can achieve so much more when we work together towards a common goal.
Right.
And a key ingredient in building that kind of collaborative culture, well, it's sincere appreciation. It's about going beyond that perfunctory thank you and truly recognizing and acknowledging the contributions of others.
It's about making people feel seen, heard, and valued,
Yes,
which ultimately boosts morale, cooperation, and productivity.
absolutely. And then finally, we explored that art of persuasion,
Right.
which really is about becoming a more effective communicator, understanding your audience and presenting your ideas in a way that resonates with their needs and interests.
It's about capturing attention, arousing desire, and securing acceptance, but in an authentic and ethical way.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this incredible deep dive, I want to leave our listener with a final kind of thought-provoking question.
Okay, hit me.
I want you to think about one specific area from our deep dive today. Maybe it's goal setting, maybe it's overcoming fear, maybe it's building stronger teams, maybe it's becoming a more persuasive communicator. And ask yourself, what's one small step you can take today to start applying that principle in your own career? It doesn't have to be huge.
Right.
Just one small action that moves you in the direction of success.
I love that. That's fantastic. I hope our listener will take that challenge to heart. It's been such a pleasure diving deep with you into this very empowering book.
All mine as well. And remember the power to create the career you desire.
Yeah.
That lies within you.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into putting the power of your subconscious mind to work.
Yes, thank you.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep unleashing the incredible power of your mind.